Hey, welcome back guys, this is TK. In this video we are going to take a look at 802.1x authentication using EAP-FAST method. In 802.1x we have three components: the supplicant, which is the client that installed in the workstation or your BYOD device, 802.1x client, and the authenticator, which is your network access device. This could be the switch or a wireless access point, wireless LAN controller. And then you have the radius server, which is your authentication server. In this case we'll be using Cisco Identity Services Engine. In the EAP-FAST method there are three phases. In phase 0 there's a Diffie-Hellman key exchange between the supplicant and radius server, and then once the key exchange is completed, then the user credentials are sent through a secured tunnel using a pack file provisioned by the Identity Services Engine to the supplicant. The pack is the protected authentication credentials file, and once that file is provisioned, then the authentication happens through the secured tunnel between the supplicant and the radius server. In this case, from our setup, the Identity Services Engine is using Active Directory for user authentication database. And let's take a quick look at our ISE. Let me check the external identity source for authentication, which is our AD. Make sure that is properly associated with this node, which it is connected to the AD right now. And let's take a look at our authentication policy. And this is the default authentication policy, comes with ISE. The way you read this is that if the connection comes via a .1x authentication method, either it comes from wired or wireless, use all the available methods and use the internal user database for authentication. So in this all available methods, we are going to just pin it down to EAP-FAST, and the internal users we are going to change it to AD, Active Directory domain users. Okay, so let's quickly configure that. We go to results, authentication. Right now I have a EAP-FAST method configured over here, but let's add another one over just for clarity. Let's create this EAP_FAST. Let me remove everything here except EAP-FAST method. So you have only EAP-FAST, and I want to enable in-band pack provisioning from anonymous, and let me submit this. Everything else is unchecked. Alright, let me remove this one over here. Alright, so this is pretty much everything, and this one that we just created, only EAP-FAST selected. So let's go back to our authentication policy, authentication, and let's edit this. Instead of everything, let's specify EAP-FAST only, and instead of internal users, let's change it to AD. Alright, once that's saved, let's go ahead and add our switch into ISE network devices. Name, the IP address, and then the shared secret. You can make sure you put the right one. Submit. Let's go ahead and configure the switch. Let me get the records. Let's change this to 3 seconds. This is our monitoring window on ISE for authentications. Let me get it for last 5 minutes. Alright, so we can clear out that history. Let's enable AAA new model in the switch, and let's define the ISE in the switch. Is group server radius. Alright, and let's specify for .1x authentication, use this server ISE, and also for authorization network. Let's enable .1x authentication system-wide, and the workstation is connecting to port 46 in this switch. Okay, so what we have here is we have the authentication host mode set up for multi-host. The reason is that I'm using a VM behind this port, so there are multiple hosts are going to be seen by this this port, and that's why I need to specify this is a multi-host port. And this is where you enable .1x authentication, and we specify this port as an authenticator port access entity authenticator. And these are the only three. Actually, you only need 2 commands. In my case, I need these 3 commands because this one is for that VM setup. And we go to this to the workstation, and now the workstation is using Cisco AnyConnect client, and it's prompting for username. Put the username and the password. Let's check what's happening behind the ISE. We should see the pack file is being provisioned if we did everything correctly. It shows up as it's authenticated right now, and used EAP-FAST method. I believe that I used the same authentication credentials before, and the pack file was provisioned that time. That's why it's not showing up over here. But you can check on the switch, show authentication sessions for this port, and this is authenticated using the test 1. Let's see if we can clear this authentication. Let's see if you can use a different account from the let's create a new profile here. Say it's EAP-FAST. And let's specify .1x password EAP-FAST. Okay, let's specify test2. I want to show you that the pack file provisioning. It's authenticated with EAP-FAST before, but it was using the previous credentials that I used in this test workstation. So let's put the password. Back to ISE. This is where you see the pack file provisioned for the test2 user, and soon it will go to session state authenticated. We are looking at operations authentications on ISE, the monitoring window. Let me start this session again. Now it shows up as success, and from ISE, the session state authenticated. Yeah, I made a mistake using the previous account in this demonstration, which was already provisioned, so I apologize. But you see that with the new account, the pack file was provisioned, and then the session state authenticated. And basically, what you need from the switch side is define the group ISE, and then these two AAA commands, .1x and network .1x authentication and network authorization for ISE. And for port level, you need these two commands, and this one is optional based on the connection scenario, workstation setup, and also the .1x system authentication. System auth control. So that's pretty much it on this this setup, and we are going to we'll take a look at EAP, protected EAP method next time when we set this lab up. Thank you so much.